The room buzzed with tense energy as the hum of the holographic projector filled the air. Captain Sarah Lawson stood at the center of the command deck, her sharp eyes fixed on the fluctuating signal displayed before her. The garbled distress call, originating from deep space, crackled ominously. It was a sound that sent a chill down her spine, despite her years of experience. "Captain, we've managed to clean up the signal, but it's still incomplete," Lieutenant Javier Morales reported, his voice steady but edged with concern. The projection flickered, revealing fragments of a desperate message. "Approaching fast, unknown ships, overwhelming force, need immediate." Sarah's jaw tightened. This was no ordinary distress call. The remnants of the message painted a grim picture. Something was out there, something powerful enough to instill fear in those who encountered it. She could feel the weight of the situation settling in her chest, a familiar sensation she'd learned to trust over the years. "Where's it coming from?" Sarah asked, her voice calm, belying the storm of thoughts racing through her mind. "Sector 34, near the edge of our system," Javier replied, glancing at her with a mix of anticipation and dread. "It's close, too close." Sarah nodded, her decision made in an instant. "Sound the alert. Prepare the fleet for immediate deployment. I want all ships ready to move within the hour." Javier moved swiftly to carry out her orders, but he hesitated before stepping away. "Do you think it's them?" he asked, his voice low, as if speaking the words aloud would make them true. Sarah met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "It doesn't matter who it is. We're Earth's last line of defense, and we'll be ready." As the crew sprang into action, the command deck transformed into a hive of activity. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing real-time updates of the fleet's status. The low hum of the ship's engines grew louder as they prepared to break orbit, a sound that reverberated through the floor and up Sarah's legs. Sarah allowed herself a moment to take in the scene. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her, but it was a burden she had long accepted. Protecting Earth was more than a duty. It was a conviction that had guided every decision she'd ever made. And now, as the unknown threat loomed closer, that conviction hardened into resolve. "Captain," Javier called out, his voice cutting through the din. "The fleet is ready. We await your command." Sarah took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the faces of her crew, each one a reminder of what was at stake. "Set a course for Sector 34. We're going to find out what's out there, and we're going to make sure they know who they're dealing with." As the fleet surged forward, Sarah felt the familiar thrum of adrenaline coursing through her veins. The darkness of space stretched out before them, vast and unforgiving, but it was not the void that concerned her. It was what lay hidden within it, the unknown, the alien, the potential threat to everything she held dear. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the ships accelerated toward their destination. The signal had fallen silent, leaving only an eerie stillness in its wake. But Sarah knew better than to trust the quiet. Whatever awaited them in Sector 34, it was something that had already proven capable of sowing fear and chaos. And soon, it would meet Earth's finest. The fleet emerged from hyperspace with a jolt, the vast expanse of Sector 34 stretching out before them. The eerie stillness of the void was shattered by the sight that awaited them, a massive alien armada, their ships unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. Sleek, angular vessels with shimmering hulls, pulsating with an ominous energy, hovered in formation, as if expecting their arrival. "Captain, they're already in attack formation." Javier's voice was taut, the tension on the bridge palpable. He pointed to the holographic display, where the alien fleet was highlighted in sharp contrast against the backdrop of space. "They're not here to negotiate." Sarah's eyes narrowed as she took in the sight. The aliens had the advantage: superior numbers, advanced weaponry, and the element of surprise. But Sarah knew they had one thing the aliens didn't: the will to fight for their home. "Maintain formation," she ordered, her voice firm. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers on my mark." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, their training taking over as they prepared for the inevitable clash. Sarah could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, sharpening her focus as the alien ships began to advance. "They're scanning us," Javier reported, his fingers dancing across the console. Their systems are probing for weaknesses. They won't find any, Sarah replied, her tone hard as steel. Activate countermeasures. Let's give them something to think about. As the alien ships closed in, Earth's fleet deployed its defenses, electronic countermeasures that scrambled the alien sensors, confusing their targeting systems. The first volley of energy blasts streaked through space, but most went wide, missing their mark. Return fire, Sarah commanded, her eyes fixed on the battle unfolding before her. The fleet's weapons lit up, unleashing a barrage of kinetic projectiles and energy pulses that tore through the void, slamming into the alien ships with devastating force. The alien vessels responded in kind, their weapons blazing with unearthly power. The impact was immediate. 2 of Earth's ships were hit, their shields flaring brightly before collapsing under the onslaught. Explosions erupted in the distance as the damaged vessels were consumed by fire. Shields at critical levels, Captain! A voice called out from across the deck, panic creeping into the words. Divert all power to forward shields and engines, Sarah ordered, her mind racing as she calculated their next move. We need to outmaneuver them, draw them away from the main fleet. The ship lurched as power was rerouted, the hum of the engines rising to a fever pitch. Sarah's eyes flicked to the tactical display. Javier was already adjusting their formation, positioning their ships to exploit the gaps in the aliens' ranks. We can break through here, Javier suggested, his voice tight but controlled, pointing to a weak spot in the enemy's formation. If we concentrate our fire, we might be able to split their fleet and create an opening. Sarah nodded, recognizing the opportunity. Do it. All ships concentrate fire on these coordinates, she instructed, relaying the order with a wave of her hand. Let's show them what Earth is made of. The fleet responded in unison, their combined firepower hammering into the targeted area of the alien formation. The strategy worked. The alien ships, momentarily overwhelmed, began to falter, their tight formation unraveling as they scrambled to regroup. Now's our chance, Sarah said, her voice filled with determination. Push through and flank them. We can't let them regroup. The fleet surged forward, exploiting the chaos they had created. The alien ships, caught off guard, struggled to mount a coordinated defense. Sarah's ship led the charge, weaving through the debris of the battlefield, lasers cutting through the enemy with precision. But just as it seemed they were gaining the upper hand, the alien flagship, a behemoth of a vessel, appeared on the tactical display, moving into position. It was massive, dwarfing the other ships around it, and it was clear it held the key to the alien strategy. Sarah's heart pounded as she realized the true scale of the threat they faced. The flagship's weapons began to charge, glowing with a menacing light. Captain, the flagship is targeting us, Javier warned, his voice tight with urgency. Brace for impact, Sarah shouted, gripping the console as the enemy vessel unleashed its fury. The flagship's barrage slammed into the Earth's ship's shields with relentless force. The deck shuddered violently, lights flickering as power surged and systems strained under the assault. Sarah gripped the edge of her console, knuckles white, as the overwhelming energy rippled through the hull. Shields down to 30%! Javier's voice rang out, his fingers flying over the controls as he fought to stabilize their defenses. We can't take another hit like that, Captain! Sarah's mind raced, the gravity of their situation pressing down on her. The alien flagship was a Titan, its firepower unmatched by anything in Earth's arsenal. If they didn't find a way to neutralize it soon, their fleet would be decimated. We need to get in close, under their firing arc, Sarah ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. They're too big to maneuver quickly. If we can hug their blind spot, we'll have a shot. Javier nodded, already adjusting their trajectory. It's risky, but it might be our only chance. Make it happen, Sarah replied, determination hardening her gaze. She opened a channel to the fleet, her voice steady and resolute. All ships, follow our lead. We're taking the fight to them. Stay tight, stay focused. The fleet responded with precision, maneuvering as one into the shadow of the alien behemoth. The flagship's weapons, designed for long-range devastation, struggled to track the swift and agile Earth ships now darting dangerously close to its massive hull. "Target their engines and weapons arrays," Sarah commanded. "We need to cripple them before they can bring their full arsenal to bear." The fleet unleashed a concentrated barrage, their coordinated strikes hammering into the flagship's vulnerable points. Explosions rippled across its surface as critical systems were hit, sending plumes of energy and debris spiraling into the void. For a moment, it seemed they had the upper hand. But the alien ship retaliated, releasing a swarm of smaller, autonomous drones from hidden bays. The drones swarmed the Earth fleet, their agility and numbers overwhelming the defenses. "Drones incoming!" Javier shouted, his voice laced with urgency as the tactical display lit up with new threats. "They're targeting our weapon systems!" Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the drones tear through the ranks of Earth's ships. Their strategy was unraveling, and the situation was growing dire. She needed to act quickly. "Redirect all fire to the drones," she ordered, her voice cutting through the noise. "We can't let them disable our weapons!" The fleet shifted its focus, their guns blazing as they targeted the relentless swarm. One by one, the drones were picked off, but not before several Earth ships were damaged, their weapons disabled or their shields failing. Sarah's ship rocked under the strain, systems warning of critical failures. But through the chaos, she spotted an opportunity, an exposed conduit on the flagship's hull, sparking and vulnerable. "Javier, focus all remaining fire on that conduit," she commanded, her eyes locked on the target. "It's our only shot." Javier didn't hesitate. He rerouted power to the forward cannons, lining up the shot with precision. The ship's weapons fired in unison, a concentrated beam of energy lancing out and striking the conduit dead-on. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The conduit erupted in a cascade of explosions, the flagship's massive frame shuddering as internal systems failed. Secondary blasts rippled through the vessel, and with a final, deafening roar, the flagship began to break apart. The alien armada, suddenly leaderless and disoriented, faltered. Their formation crumbled, and Earth's fleet seized the moment, pressing the attack and driving the enemy back. As the debris of the once mighty flagship drifted through space, Sarah allowed herself a moment to breathe. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. They had struck a critical blow, one that might just give them a fighting chance. "Captain," Javier said, his voice filled with cautious optimism. "We did it. We took down their flagship." Sarah nodded, her expression resolute. "We're not done yet. Rally the fleet and prepare for the next wave. This isn't over until they're out of our system." The crews sprang back into action, the tension on the bridge easing just slightly. They had faced the worst and come out alive, but the battle for Earth was only beginning. The wreckage of the alien flagship still smoldered in the void, casting an eerie glow across the battlefield. But there was no time to celebrate. The remnants of the alien fleet regrouped quickly, their fury palpable as they prepared for a final assault. Sarah stood at the command deck, her gaze steely as she assessed the situation. "What's their status, Javier?" "They're reassembling into a new formation," Javier replied, his voice strained with exhaustion. "Looks like they're going for a full frontal attack. No more tricks, just brute force." Sarah nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. The alien forces, though diminished, were still formidable, and the Earth fleet was battered and running low on resources. But they had no choice. Retreat was not an option. "Prepare the fleet for the final stand," she ordered, her voice firm. "We hold the line here. No matter what." The command was met with a solemn acknowledgement from the crew. They had come too far to back down now. The survival of Earth depended on this moment. As the alien armada advanced, Sarah's mind raced. She needed a strategy, something unconventional that could turn the tide in their favor. Then it hit her, a risky, desperate plan, but it just might work. "Javier, do we still have those EMP charges?" she asked, a spark of determination igniting in her eyes. "Barely," he replied, his brow furrowing. "We've got enough for one good shot. That's all we'll need." Sarah said, a plan forming in her mind. We'll use the charges to disable their front line, then drive through the gap and hit their command ship. Without it, the rest will fall apart. Javier hesitated, the danger of the plan evident. If we miscalculate. We won't, Sarah interrupted, her voice leaving no room for doubt. It's all or nothing. Prepare the charges and relay the plan to the fleet. We move on my mark. The minutes dragged on as the alien ships closed in, their weapons primed for destruction. Tension gripped the bridge, every second feeling like an eternity. But Sarah remained focused, her eyes locked on the tactical display, waiting for the perfect moment. Steady, steady, she murmured, watching the alien formation tighten, their front line now within range. Now! Sarah shouted, and the EMP charges were launched into the fray. A wave of energy pulsed out, and in an instant, the lead alien ships were disabled, their systems flickering and dying as the EMP took hold. Push through! Sarah commanded, and the Earth fleet surged forward, exploiting the gap in the enemy lines. They barreled toward the alien command ship, weapons blazing as they cut through the disoriented forces. The alien command ship loomed ahead, its size dwarfing the Earth vessels, but its movements were sluggish, its systems struggling to recover from the EMP shock. Sarah knew this was their only chance. Focus all fire on that ship, she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of their last hope. Bring it down! The Earth fleet unleashed everything they had left, a concentrated barrage of missiles, lasers, and kinetic rounds. The alien command ship trembled under the assault, its shields buckling, hull cracking under the relentless fire. For a moment, it seemed as though it would hold, but then, with a final, deafening roar, the alien command ship exploded in a brilliant flash, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The remaining alien ships faltered, their coordination shattered without their leader. Sarah watched as the alien forces began to retreat, the remnants of their once mighty fleet scattering into the void. Relief washed over her, but she knew the victory had come at a great cost. Stand down, she ordered softly, the adrenaline fading, leaving behind exhaustion and the weight of what they had achieved. We've done it! The crew collapsed into their seats, the tension finally releasing as the reality of their survival set in. They had defended Earth against impossible odds, and they had won. Sarah took a deep breath, allowing herself a moment of reflection. The price had been high, but humanity had proven its resilience, its indomitable will to survive. And now, as they drifted among the wreckage of their enemies, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never underestimate Earth again. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. I promise you, nothing will happen to your finger.